A massive project has been causing quite a stir in Washington, and it's only going to become more of a hot topic leading up to the November election. Project 2025 is a major initiative led by the Heritage Foundation and a coalition of conservative organizations to prepare for Trump's second term and for future Republican presidents.
Project 2025, spearheaded by conservative think tank the Heritage Foundation, is a years in the making, 900-plus page presidential transition plan giving Team Trump a detailed blueprint for a potential second term. That blueprint would radically remake the federal government, if executed, with its stated goal being, quote, to assemble an army of aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state. The project is built on 4 pillars, which go well beyond previous transition efforts. There's the policy agenda, personnel, training, and a 180-day playbook to execute the think tank's plans. Many authors of the blueprint are former Trump officials. Joining us now, one of the architects of Project 2025, the president of the Heritage Foundation, Dr. Kevin Roberts. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Roberts. Thank you for joining us and coming. I know people are like, yo, that the architect of the 2025? Yes, because everyone has been talking about it. And we saw an interview that you did with the Associated Press, and we've been reading through some things. And I think we just want to first start with anchoring this conversation in. You told the New York Times that this plan is a plan that you know, is for anyone. It's not just for Donald Trump. You would like if President Biden would implement some of it, but you don't think that that's going to happen. And so you reject the assertion that this is a plan that was cooked up specifically for the second coming of the Trump administration.
I appreciate that question because as your lobby shows when you walk in, you've got the word honesty and the word accuracy there. That's an honest and accurate depiction, and I'm grateful. Number one, the Heritage Foundation couldn't do that because we are nonpartisan. We can't be tied to one candidate. Secondly, we have offered a briefing of Project 2025 dating back to last year to every candidate for presidency, including President Biden. Honest to goodness, I would have been thrilled if President Biden and his team asked for a briefing. We understand that we have differences of opinion on just about everything. But at Heritage, we believe in telling the truth with a smile on our face. But the last point I should make is that now that President Trump is the nominee, and President Biden has not taken a Project 2025 briefing, President Trump is going to make decisions about policy in his administration if he wins. Project 2025 is something that's going to transcend the next 4 years, the next 10 years. It really is, for the first time in the history of the conservative movement, the apparatus for policy and personnel. That's the most important thing to remember.
I have one follow-up. It's just that you have said that this plan is about institutionalizing Trumpism. So, because I also know you all, not just the president of the Heritage Foundation, you're also president of the Heritage Action, which is the political action committee. And so, is it tied to Trump or not?
I said the context for that comment to the New York Times was that the work of the Heritage Foundation was to institutionalize Trumpism. Trumpism as a new version of conservatism, a conservatism that recognizes that by every objective measure, the United States is weaker in 2024 than it was in 1984. We also happen to think that's reversible, by the way. We're ultimately optimists. And by institutionalizing Trumpism, what we're saying is that even though we are known as Ronald Reagan's think tank, I'm a son of the Reagan Revolution, I'm very proud of that, that's 40 years ago. And we need to understand what time it is in America. And right now, Donald Trump, whether someone likes it or not, I happen to like it, is the standard bearer for conservatism.
He is 100% spot on. We're tired of the neocons and the uniparty. Politicians on both sides of the aisle have pretended to oppose each other for too long. And in reality, they've just been working together to maintain the status quo. Well, the status quo is no longer working for the American people.
The blueprint for a second Trump term? It may be this document, more than 900 pages long, outlining big changes to government as we know it.
If we don't win, this country is finished.
Making a splash everywhere from Congress.
Project 2025 is a far-right manifesto.
To TikTok.
Project 2025 likely isn't going to happen.
Making a stir among progressives.
It is a 900-page blueprint for an authoritarian takeover.
Oh, just the right's blueprint for reshaping America.
Project 2025, the brainchild of former Trump officials and conservative think tank the Heritage Foundation.
Weaponized conservatives ready to do battle against the deep state.
That battle plan outlined outlining several key proposals, including a federal government under much tighter presidential control. Even now, independent agencies like the Department of Justice would answer almost entirely to the president. It's a controversial idea known as unitary executive theory that would streamline decision-making and potentially replace many career civil servants with political appointees presumably loyal to Mr. Trump. The plan calls for more spending for a U.S.-Mexico border wall, a signature Trump proposal back in 2016.
Build that wall.
More federal power to control immigration and increased fees for the immigrants allowed to stay. On this side of the border, big cuts to corporate taxes and income tax for America's highest earners, cuts to federal investments in renewable energy and carbon reduction goals, and more fossil fuel and energy production. Project 2025 also taking aim at what it calls woke culture warriors, calling for deleting a long list of terms from all federal rules, including sexual orientation and gender identity. It also would eliminate the education department. It's not uncommon for think tanks to create wish lists for governments in waiting. But with the race for the White House basically deadlocked, Democratic opposition to the plan is ramping up against what Congressman Jared Huffman, behind the Stop Project 2025 task force, calls a dystopian plot.
I think what troubles me the most is just the explicitness of the extremism. We've never seen them talk in this kind of a swaggering, explicit way about basically gutting our democracy. They're doing it now, and the people who are saying these things are the most inner circle leaders of Donald Trump's political world.
Those behind Project 2025 accuse Democrats of fear-mongering.
This really would tee up an incoming administration to achieve more than we've ever seen under a conservative president before.
As for the Trump campaign's response to all things Project 2025, the campaign says unless it's coming from the former president's own mouth, no aspect of future presidential staffing or policy announcements should be deemed official. The campaign has been pointing to its own so-called Agenda 47. That's their official campaign playbook for the next Trump presidency.
Taking the fight straight to the deep state, getting rid of unelected bureaucrats, increase border spending, income tax cuts, energy independence, eliminating the education department. Where do I sign up? I love this. But what is Project 2025 actually about? And why does it have Democrats all up in arms? The project is essentially a government in waiting, ready to jump into action day one. The goal, to dismantle the deep state and replace it with the government for the people, by the people. The project is outlined in a nearly 1,000-page handbook. One of its primary goals is to secure the border and overhaul the immigration system that has brought illegal immigrants, human traffickers, and fentanyl across our borders. This includes reinstating the border wall construction and implementing stricter policies to curb illegal immigration. The project also aims to reclassify tens of thousands of federal employees under Schedule F, which would make it easier to fire those who are seen as obstructing the president's agenda. The project also seeks to eliminate the Department of Education, giving control back to local authorities and parents. This is a move towards school choice. It empowers parents to decide what's best for their children's education without federal interference. The project also calls for a top-to-bottom overhaul of the Department of Justice, which the Biden administration has used as a political weapon against its opponents. The project emphasizes a strong national defense, including increased military budget and focusing on new threats like cyber warfare. It also plans to abolish recent diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives within the Pentagon. And finally, the project includes a sweeping deregulation agenda to boost economic growth by reducing bureaucratic red tape that stifles innovation and entrepreneurship. It calls for massive cuts to the federal spending. This is the big bad boogeyman Democrats are all up in arms about. Limited government, individual liberty, traditional values, a strong national defense, fiscal responsibility, constitutionalism, and the rule of law. This is what Democrats are so afraid to let you have. Now, I know this sounds like a lot, but let's break it down a bit. The Heritage Foundation and its allies are essentially preparing to take a sledgehammer to the current federal bureaucracy. They believe the federal government has become too bloated, too powerful and too disconnected from the American people. And they're not wrong. Personally, I think this is a common sense approach to governance. We need to secure our borders, ensure our children are getting the best education possible, and promote policies that lead to energy independence and economic growth. The left has had their chance. And what have we gotten? Higher taxes, more regulations, division, and a government that is more interested in controlling our lives than serving us. This project is about undoing progressive policies that have led to crime, deaths of despair, lower birth rates, child predation, and the breakdown of the family. And how do Democrats feel about this common sense agenda? Let's check in with them.
Time for us to play chess, not checkers. It's about making decisions that will affect us as human beings, our careers, our next generations to come. Did you know that it is now a crime to be homeless? Pay attention. It's not a secret. Look it up. They are attacking our most vulnerable citizens. The Project 2025 plan is not a game. Look it up.
The pandering was on 1,000 with that one. Oh yeah, exactly what we needed. More out-of-touch celebrities lecturing us again. How has it been working for you guys? Did you know that it is now a crime to be homeless? I sure didn't. More liberal lies. Has she even read the agenda? She obviously has no idea what it's even really about. There's no real argument for why a Trump presidency would be worse than a Biden one. So the Democrats have to pick apart things like Project 2025 and make them their boogeyman. This is the problem with the left. They jump to conclusions without understanding the facts. They fearmonger and spread misinformation because they know that Project 2025 would actually help Americans, not just white Americans, not just Black Americans, not just Hispanic Americans, all Americans. Project 2025 is about putting America first, and they hate that. With Project 2025, we're looking at a real solution. And we know Democrats hate solutions. We're talking about a government that's lean, efficient, and focused on the needs of its citizens. We're talking about America where the rule of law is respected, where innovation thrives, and where the American dream is within reach for everyone who respects our laws and values. Compare this to Agenda 2030, the globalist plan pushed by the United Nations. Agenda 2030 is all about centralized control, increased regulations, and loss of national sovereignty. Its goal is to create a one world government where unelected bureaucrats dictate how we live our lives. The left is terrified of Project 2025 because it threatens their grip on power. They know that if Project 2025 succeeds, it will dismantle the deep state and restore the power to the American people. That's why they're spreading lies and misinformation, trying to scare people into thinking it's some kind of racial agenda, but it's not. It's a bold step towards reclaiming our government from the career politicians and bureaucrats who have turned Washington into the swamp. It's about common sense and putting America first. But I want to hear your thoughts. What do you guys think? Is Project 2025 the common sense solution we need? Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Consider joining the ARP family. It supports me, the team, and the channel, and it helps us push this type of content out to you guys on a day-to-day basis. Keep God first in your life, stay prayed up, and I'm gonna catch up with you all next time. Peace.